In this video, I'm going to share some budgeting hacks for equestrians. So we all know owning horses is expensive, and we've had this land and the farm for almost a year now. So I just think I've learned a lot in terms of budgeting for even a farm and horse ownership and multiple horses. Initially, some of these hacks may seem really minute or small, but over the long run, they add up. So when it comes to horses, you're gonna have a lot of regular expenses. And so if you can kind of chip away at each of those expenses, over time, you're gonna save a lot of money. One hack I've learned is that you can get discounts on shaving bags or grain bags that have already been opened, or maybe there's a rip in them, so some of the contents has fallen out of the package. You can usually find those discounted at your local farm store, and it really just depends on the store, but you can even ask, because sometimes they will put that stuff in the back and they won't put it out in front of the customers. None of these have been, but it does add up over time. One thing companies in the horse industry have learned is that horse people are willing to spend so much money on their horses, and so the prices of things can be jacked up and horse people will still buy it. So one thing that I've learned is, instead of buying the name brand horse supplies and medical supplies for your horses, you can usually find an equivalent off-brand, or even like something that's made for humans that you can use on horses. And so I've done the research here and I found prices and names of things. EquiShield Fungal Cream sells for $15, and compared to that, you can get Desitin or Baby Butt Cream for $1 to $2. Vetricin Horse Antiseptic is usually $26, but you can use a bunch of different things like iodine or hydrogen peroxide, and you can usually get that around $7. For Thrush Buster, that usually sells for $23 a bottle. There's a bunch of different home remedies you can use for thrush, but I personally like apple cider vinegar, and you can usually buy a good jar of that for like $5. So those are just some examples of what I'm talking about, where there's usually a cheaper equivalent somewhere else. You just have to search and research and kind of see if they'll work the same. Along those same lines, supplements for horses that are made specifically for horses tend to be a lot more expensive, but they also have like really negative additives in them as well. I prefer like homeopathic natural alternative supplements for my horses, and you can usually find these a lot cheaper. How I came about this is I had Yoshi, our miniature pony here, tested for some intolerances and some problems he was having, and we tested through a company called 5 Strands, and they're all about homeopathic solutions. So he was tested, and then they provided a consultation with a homeopathic practitioner who was able to kind of walk me through some options for Yoshi, and she even gave me links and recommendations for what we should feed him. And so I have him on the natural supplements, and they've been working very well. So, and they're cheaper than buying him horse brand supplements. So if you're interested in 5 Strands, I will put the link to their website in the description, and you can use the code Carmela15 to get 15% off of your order. This next hack I've done as long as I've had horses, and it's basically checking horse product websites for sales or clearance items. Here are some of my favorite websites I recommend doing this with. I'm not sponsored by any of these websites or anything like that, but I've always used these brands. So State Line Tack, that is one of my most favorite online horse product websites. They have a clearance page, or they usually have like sales or clearance going on their homepage that you can check out. Dover Salary is another one where they have a lot of really high-end stuff, but you can find good clearance. Like I was on their site the other day and I saw like fly masks for $9.99. Horse.com is another one. They have a bunch of different stuff, and they usually have a pretty good selection for their clearance and sales. This next hack is for anyone who has their horses on their own land, or you're thinking about purchasing land for your horses. If you look behind me, you probably think, oh, those horses are eating that grass, you know, they're keeping it managed. No, they're not. In reality, we are mowing this field because our grass is getting so overwhelming and crazy during the spring and summer that there's just way too much of it, and it's too much to manage. If you have the same problem, this tip is for you, and it's growing your own hay on your own land. Hay equipment can be expensive, so what I personally recommend, if you don't already have that, is finding a neighbor who bales hay or makes hay, coming to an agreement with them where they can bale their fields for you, and they get to keep all of it except for what you need for your horses. So free hay for them and free hay for you. If that's not an option, another thing you can try is renting out some of your space to a farmer or even another horse person to where they keep their horse on your land. Even just during the summer, farmers are looking for for places to put their animals. And so just depending on the size of the field depends on how much you can charge. So that means you'll get some money in your pocket and you'll be able to keep your grass down when you need to. This next budgeting hack is something you could potentially work out with your farrier. If your horses are shod or if they have shoes on, one thing you can ask about is whether the farrier will give you a discount if you pull your own shoes off of your horse before they get there. So pulling shoes is actually super simple and easy to learn, and it may be something your farrier could even show you how to do, but that can save your farrier time with getting the shoes on your horse. So it's always worth asking. I know when I was growing up, we would pull the shoes before the farrier got there. So that's just one small thing you can do where it may save you a little bit of money, but in the long run, it'll probably add up. When we first bought our property, one thing I learned as I was trying to stock up and get all the things for the horses to be here is I learned about Facebook Marketplace. So we all know about Facebook Marketplace, but basically it's a great place to find used discounted items. So for one example, a 50-gallon rubber tub for horses, I think it costs somewhere around $100 or even more now. But you can find one of those tubs on Facebook Marketplace for like $25. Sometimes you can find specific horse products like even tack, but that's not as popular as just like farm things that you may need. There's other websites like that, of course, like Craigslist. I'm always looking on Craigslist, and one thing I see a lot of on there is like round pen panels. So if you want to build a round pen for cheap, you can go and purchase a used round pen. Another budgeting hack is instead of buying individual bottles of fly spray, it's actually cheaper to buy the initial individual bottle, but then the giant refill bottles that they sell. I know initially the giant refill bottles may seem like they're more expensive, but with the individual bottles, I'm buying maybe a few of those a month just because I spray these guys like every day to keep the flies off of them. That adds up over the summer, compared to me just buying one of those refill bottles, and I use that all summer and I usually don't have to buy another one. For this budgeting hack, instead of buying horse jumps, which can be extremely expensive, you can build your own. So this is something I've recently gotten into moving to our farm and everything. For example, I painted this here barrel, and so that'll be a fun jump. And I just have like all this wood that I can use to build stuff. So I was gonna use this to build a filler for my jump. And this is just like from a headboard on a bed. It's much cheaper. Like horse jumps, they sell for in the hundreds or thousands of dollars compared to, I painted that barrel for, $15. So very easy to do, and it's a lot cheaper than purchasing already built ones. If you have a trailer, then this budget hack is for you. If your vet has a local office, you can trailer your horse to the vet and avoid having to pay a farm call for your vet to come out to your place. I'll do this with my horses, so if Yoshi has a vet appointment, it's super easy for me to take him to the vet, or if they just need simple things like their Coggins or their vaccines, and I don't want to have to pay the vet call, I'll just take him to the vet and they can get the shots, and then we go home. Only do this if you can trust your horse in a new environment. Like with Tucker, for example, I don't do this with him because if I take him to the vet, he'll just get worked up being in a new place, and it will be harder for them to do the procedures they need to do compared to with Yoshi. He doesn't care at all. So there's just simple things like that to be aware of, but in the long run, this can save you a lot of money on vet calls. There are so many unhealthy additives and fillers in supplements and grain that we don't know the negative effects they may have on our horses. So that's why, once again, I highly recommend 5 Strands, and they can help you find some homeopathic solutions for your horse. And I'll put the code on the screen and the link is in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more weekly horse videos.